Okay, we have Coach Napier, and he would like to go straight to questions. Front row to your left, Coach.
Hey, Coach. Jacques Doucet, WAP-TV in Baton Rouge. How are you?
I'm great, man. How about you?
Doing great, doing great. So many people in Louisiana think so highly of you, what you did with the Raging Cajuns and whatnot, and certainly your name was mentioned with the LSU job. What would you tell people out there who are going to compare you and Brian Kelly and the success you have and that whole narrative?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brian's an unbelievable coach. Got nothing but respect for him, nothing but respect for LSU. So, you know, I'm focused on the University of Florida, you know, and we've put together a great group of people. I'm thankful for the belief the administration had in our plan, you know, and the vision that we have for what we can do for the Gators. But I would tell you this, I am so appreciative of the experience I had in that state, you know, in Lafayette, right? I mean, unbelievable experience. The people, the community, certainly the staff, and most importantly, the players.
Coach, to your right, third row.
Nicole, KBTX College Station. Coach, you were under Jimbo Fisher. What did you learn from him? And then also, how exciting is it, or what emotions go through your mind knowing that you're taking your team to College Station in Kyle-Field?
Yeah, no, Jimbo, I was with Coach Fisher for about a month, I think, you know, to some degree. Transitioned in there and then got an opportunity to go back to the University of Alabama, which was a tough decision, you know, and I'm thankful for Jimbo being understanding. Those are always tough, especially when it happens quickly like that. But, you know, Jimbo's a phenomenal coach. I mean, his track record going all the way back. You know, I've been around, and Jimbo's been around, you know, but he's always a guy that I felt like did a great job of utilizing his personnel. He had a great feel and connection with his team, and he continues to have success and improve that program at A&M. So that'll be a challenge, and it's one that we look forward to.
Coach, to your left, second row.
Coach, what aspects of building Louisiana in year one are you applying to building Florida in year one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you know, there's a lot of common ground. You know, each one of these teams, I mean, I think each year is a little bit different, but year one, you're learning your place, right? You're learning how to present your product. You're learning the community, the administration, the players. I mean, there's so many people that contribute to your team. So that's where we're at the University of Florida, and I feel like looking back was very similar at UL. You know, and every day there's a problem to solve, right? And I think that this goes with year one. I often would say year one is like giving a year of your life away, you know, because each day, man, there's just a handful of things that continue to pop up. So we're work in progress, much like we were year one there. We've got a lot of work to do to improve, but I'm confident we've got the resources and the people to do that.
Coach, to your right, the back row.
Chess Boucher with NBC 33 in Baton Rouge. Corey Raymond is essentially the godfather of DVU at LSU. What does he mean to you and, you know, your new coaching staff?
Yeah, Corey brings a ton of wisdom. You know, I mean, I think he's assistant head coach for defense and really a guy that I have tremendous respect for. The player development, the pedigree, the track record. I mean, it's phenomenal when you think about 16, you know, guys getting drafted there. But you know, Corey connects with people well. You know, I think he does a really good job establishing rapport with his players. He's a phenomenal teacher in the classroom setting, on the field, and I just think he's a savvy veteran and always a guy that he's going to be consistent and you're going to get his very best.
To your left, Coach, third row.
Hey, Billy. Jeff Spiegel, ABC 3340 Birmingham. What's the most important thing you learned under Nick Saban at Alabama?
Well, I think defining expectations. You know, I think he's got a really good understanding of all the different parts of the organization. You know, and it's his way, right? So he's very methodical. He has his way of doing things, his systems. He defines expectations. He's consistent. He's fair. And then, you know, I just think overall, a very disciplined person, you know, in terms of how he uses his time. Phenomenal leader, always very well prepared, and really always evolving, willing to adjust, willing to adapt, always quality control in everything that we did. And we take much of the same approach in how we operate.
Coach in the aisle to the right, fourth row.
Jamal Kennedy, WSFA 12 News in Montgomery. Coming from the Sun Belt Conference, the line of coaches that have come out of there recently. Could you sort of speak to the strength of that conference and sort of where they might sit among the G5s there?
Yeah, the proof's in the pudding. I can specifically remember just looking back at notes from previous years, the Power 5 wins, the bowl record versus other Group of 5 conferences, the non-conference record when playing other Group of 5 teams. And then I think, Carl Benson did a phenomenal job when he made the decision to go to, these 10 East-West divisions, the championship game, I just hit that thing just right. But, I think that league is in the SEC footprint. It's Texas to the Carolinas. The talent pool is there. I think the administration's made commitment. They've added a handful of teams and kind of, branched out a little bit. But it's a great league with quality personnel and quality coaches.
Straight ahead coach in the aisle, third row.
Hey, Coach, Ben Bobick, Local 3 in Chattanooga. You're kind of a big Murray County high school success story, man. Any memories you have from high school and any tips you learned from your dad, coaching-wise, that you apply in your own style?
Man, we moved there when I was 2. My dad coached at the same school for, I think, 20-plus years. I'm a product of that growing up there, right? I mean, we had, carpet mill workers, farmers, a good middle-class economy. It was a blue-collar place, and with values, and I think that it benefited me growing up there, right? And I still, to this day, riding around there, there's too many to talk about, but that place is in the fabric of who I am. I wouldn't be here today without that experience.
To your right, fourth row.
Coach Ike Jones with the War Report. You've been in the SEC before, but is there a big difference for you now being a head coach of an SEC program, and what are the big challenges that you've had to face so far getting that program up and running?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that probably the biggest difference is early signing period, the pace of recruiting, the timeline has been sped up, summer official visits. Then you throw NIL, portal, right? I mean, so that's the area where I think we are, having to adjust, right? So some of our coaches have experienced it, but for me, everything that we're doing from a recruiting perspective is a little bit different than maybe the last time I was in the league, if that makes sense, right? So, and I think the NIL portal thing, but that's the case for every coach in America. But that's the biggest difference. I mean, I think being the head coach is much like being the head coach at Louisiana. I joke around, it's got a lot more people watching, So, we're excited, and Florida's one of those places, it's one of those iconic places in college football.
Straight ahead coach, fourth row.
Coach, a lot of people talk about a guy's a player's coach, but that doesn't mean that you go out with your players and be buddies with them. And I got 4 kids, and they say, ain't the parents are the problem more today. They want to be friends with their kids. How do you separate? You're the coach, but you've got to spend a lot of time letting them know they matter when you're working them hard. And how often do you participate in those workouts with them?
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I was reading this past weekend a book and a specific chapter on servant leadership, right? And this guy was talking about asking young people, who are the most influential leaders in your life, right? Typically they say a parent or a teacher or a coach. And then the question's posed, do you always agree with their decisions or their approach, right? Do they always tell you what you want to hear, And hey, they may have tremendous respect for that person as a leader and the impact they made. That doesn't mean there's a difference between servant and submissive, if that makes sense, right? And I think the key to me for young people is that they know that you really care for them and that you're working hard to help them improve. You know, and then once you've made that connection, you know, I think you can coach them hard, you know, and as long as they know that you have a plan and you care for them and you can help them get better. And we're currently in the process of doing that at the University of Florida. Good question.
I'm sorry, to your right, third row.
Billy, his LSU job was mentioned earlier. Obviously, your name was circulated with Auburn about a year ago as well. What was it about the Florida opportunity that made that make sense for you, as opposed to some other opportunities you may have had in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think timing's important in these jobs. You know, you do a ton of research. You know, Florida, 3 coaches. You know, maybe not quite the success they expected. You know, why, right? I mean, that was my question. And I think I've got a good understanding of that and what needs to be addressed to position Florida for success, right? And I think that the administration was willing to collaborate. They believed in our plan. They've given us the resources to execute our plan. And I think it's one of those places that has history and tradition. They have the degree, the alumni, the passion, right? They have tasted it, and they want to taste it again, right? So there's a passion there and a motivation there, and I think the timing is right. New facility, commitment to growth in the infrastructure, new era with the portal, NIL. You know, we live in a state with 21 million people. We have 470,000 living alumni. We have a top 5 education. I mean, we have a really good product, right? And we are within proximity of a lot of really good football players, right? So we're going to take our plan, we're going to work hard at it and execute our plan, and I'm confident it'll work.
Second row, straight ahead.
Anthony Patterson with the Atlanta Voice. What did you know about Anthony Richardson before taking the Florida job versus now what you know, and what leadership qualities are you expecting out of him this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all were very aware of Anthony and you know, when given opportunities to play, you know, he's had some unique situations with 2 quarterbacks, some injuries, some, you know, veteran player, draft pick, really exceptional players in front of him, right? So, but when he did play, you could immediately see. I think I can remember the bowl game against Oklahoma. I still remember him going in the game, and I'm watching that, and I'm thinking, man, they got their guy for the future, you know. But he has the physical traits. What I've been impressed with is he's extremely bright. He has character. He's humble. He cares about his teammates, and he's willing to work, you know, and he's a great listener. He takes the meeting room to the walkthrough to the field. I think he's growing up as a leader. You know, he understands the importance of his role, not only on our team, but at the University of Florida and all the things that come with that. So it's one of the greatest things about coaching is you get a chance to be a part of that journey, right? I mean, that's where the gratification as a coach comes in, right? When you get a chance to be there and help them write that story. And I'm excited about working with Anthony.
Last 2 questions, front row here, and then we'll go front row here.
Zach Alpaverdi, Gators Online. Billy, you spoke in the spring about the need at receiver, and then you guys went and added 2 players at that position this offseason. Can you discuss both of those guys? First with Ricky, is him getting that number 1 jersey maybe a sign of the impact you guys expect him to have on offense? And then 2, Thigh Bowman, how did he even come on y'all's radar, and what does he bring to that spot?
You know, I think that I like our receiver group. I mean, we've got a handful of really good players. I think some with experience, some that I think are very capable. I think we needed complementary players, right? I often would say the receiving group is like a basketball team. You know, you need a center, a power forward, a 3-guard. You need a 2-guard. You need a point guard, right? You need some diversity in the room. And I think we added a couple players that have some of that, some of the things that we needed: speed, change of direction, run after catch, vertical threat. And I think both these guys do that. Ricky obviously has been a very productive player, you know, and was the leading receiver at Arizona State, and, you know, has film, and there's no question that he's garnered the respect of our team so far, just in 8, 9 weeks. And then Ty got banged up a little bit early on arrival, but Ty's earning respect as well. He was just a guy who passed our evaluation. He was in this class, and we found out he was available. He's a high school qualifier, so we made a decision to go ahead and bring him in. So he has character. He has been mentored by some great receiver coaches and receivers. His brother played at Northwestern, had a cup of coffee in the league. He's got a football background, and I think he's, really got good intangibles. I think he's going to bring some things to our team. So 2 good players, both passed evaluation, and, I think good people and good players.
We can't get to our last question. Coach has to run. We're sorry, but thank you, Coach. Good job.
All right, thank you all.